This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. We are climbing back into the D.B. Cooper case, and I'm hoping that we will have a summarization for you guys this morning and that we'll be moving on with 1971 and 72. I'd like to welcome to the show Terry Battcher.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good. Glad to see we're matching chairs again.
Yes, love the chair.
I need a chair.
Harriette will be here with us shortly once she gets in on
My
the
chair's
we're going to pick up where we left off last week in D.B. Cooper, and that was the to the public letter, which was actually written to Dear Editor and to the public. I must ask you, who in the hell do some of you people think you are? And what in the hell do you think you're doing? I have succeeded in pulling off one of the most successful, talked about crimes of today. Then some guy credits himself with the masterpiece and thanks everybody for their cooperation and hospitality. Well, damn it, this is making me look very stupid. These prank letters must stop. No one was endangered. The caper was only committed to show the unbelieving world that a perfect crime was possible. I have notified the FBI asking that they grant me amnesty. The money will be returned. No harm done. Sincerely, SWL, alias David Bartholomew Copperhead. That's interesting. I did kind of almost want it. Yes, she says, am I scheduled? Yes. I can't access my emails due to the new phone. Call in. All right, that should be handled. So at any rate, I thought that it was interesting that he's given himself an alias as David Bartholomew Copperhead. So if he was literally the suspect and he wasn't trying to con us with this letter, he would have put Dan Cooper. He's already stated in previous letters that D.B. Cooper does not exist, but there's no mention of Dan Cooper, which is what he signed the ticket with.
Right.
The DBC is the same as DB Cooper, too.
It is. Yes,
right.
And that's what Terry had mentioned. We're still looking at a DBC, which now makes me want to look up an acronym for DBC because as Terry has noticed that we're going to talk about SWL here in a second. But one of the things that we were talking about over this last week was the Dr. Seuss relation, another book relation. So there's always media, books, movies, something involved with these crimes. And Terry, you had
the Ramsey murder, and well, a book found at the Ramsey murder, which is allegedly one book or another, makes no difference because, as you know, most of the work of Dr. Seuss, and I can't pronounce his name, Ted something or other, last name, the actual author.
Theodore Geisel, I think.
Pardon me?
Theodore Geisel, I believe.
You got it. That's it. Right. And the only thing I could think of is damn few people are named Bartholomew anymore. And I thought, Bartholomew Cubbins just came to mind, from somewhere from my childhood. But I didn't know what. I didn't even know Dr. Seuss at this point in time. So I typed in Bartholomew Cubbins, and it came up with a book. Where is it here? I've got it. Oh, you wrote it. You brought that.
500 hats.
Yep.
Okay. And the 500 hats of Bartholomew Cubbins popped up, and I thought,
so it's not David Bartholomew Cubbins, it's just Bartholomew Cubbins.
Oh, it's just, but David's valid though too, and I'll explain why. I'm going to be careful not to get in trouble with Jewish people, but David is a very common Jewish name. We'll come back to that. I don't even need to go in that direction right now, but
right, because I'm trying to make it through this stuff as fast as possible.
You want to wrap it up, but Bartholomew Cubbins anyway. he had this. He kept growing a hat. The king wanted to cut his head off, and he kept growing another hat, and his hats got fancier and fancier. And
and that was a Dr. Seuss book.
That was a Dr. Seuss book, but everything Dr. Seuss did was pretty cryptic and pretty strange. You know what I mean? If you ever tried to read it, and some of it's great. It's great stuff. It's funny. But anyway, in a suitcase in the Ramsey house, which is let's see, I don't want to get ahead of it. Let me look, just reread here what I put here. Okay, you got SW. Explain that. In that house, there was a suitcase found against one wall that they speculated was an escape route for the killer of the little Ramsey girl. And in the suitcase was a duvet and a sham. I think that's how you pronounce it. Duvet, a sham, and a Dr. Seuss book. And they were saying that Detective Lou Smith said they thought that maybe because of particles and stuff that he was going to try to haul her out and her body out in the suitcase. Well, the ransom note is a murder note. It's not a ransom note. It's clearly a murder note, and there's no way
just like lipstick. That. Yeah, just like lipstick.
Isn't intended to murder her, and it's repetitively on the document. So anyway, they would never say. No one seemed to know what particular Dr. Seuss book it was. I looked at a couple of them. I thought, well, these are pretty spooky, and they pertain to the baseball. I can't remember the titles right now. I set it aside, but I didn't, make this connection back to David Bartholomew Copperhead. And Copperhead, people can go look that up for themselves. That has to do with, that's a Civil War item, and it has to do with a couple different things you can look into. I haven't done a deep dive research on that, but that shows us a link in that direction. And if we ever get to the Ramsey case, you're going to find that the word Jew is going to have to come up. And unfortunately, I don't have to like to repeat that, but it's going to come up. And because it's part of the way it's encrypted.
Right. All right. So I got to keep us moving forward because
okay, we'll go to SWL. These are the possible.
He's not far. Yeah, this is.
Oh, hi, Harriette.
You have me smiling. My God, Terry B, because you are. Oh my God! When you're dealing with Ramsey, everything, you're also dealing with DB Cooper and that time era, and the JFK.
Right.
It's so spot on in the bullseye. You're really there. It sounds like it if you come in and you're seeing it from an vantage point, like people who are just now tuning in. But if you dig deeper, you're going to find the center of the bullseye. Yes, the Ramseys have something to do with that. I mean, he's spot on, really.
Nice. Yeah, well, we're gonna carry on now with the acronym that Terry had done some research on, which was the SWL. And we already talked about how the cryptic sign off on the John Benet Ramsey letter was SBTC. So this use of acronyms and period dots and things we've discussed heavily. So what did you find in regards to the SWL, Terry?
Well, that was an easy thing to research. I just went and looked up acronyms for SWL. And the top ones on the list, there were several of them, safe working load, as in a parachute cord or a tow rope or lifting lines. Safe working load is one of them. Safe water level, as in the level of a ship, water level of a ship. The next one is students will learn, which I thought was kind of ironic. And then the next one was shortwave listener, which we know that Jack was involved in ham radio operation, etc., heavily into that sort of thing. And then software license was another one. And then the one that really bored me was screaming with laughter, which is absolutely Zodiac Jack 101. So take your pick, but the screaming with laughter one is, I was surprised to find that,
That or shortwave listener. Shortwave, I think a lot of these actually would hit home because if we're talking about DB Cooper, there was the encyclopedia page out of the Playboy magazine that was one of the I mean, everything kind of fits in or can kind of spin off. And we know that the Zodiac was notorious for having 2 to 3 different meanings for any one given thing he said. And that was to keep you spinning in circles so you couldn't really put your finger on what was going on with him.
But now as we go and operate in a circle and we go forward and backwards to look at these crimes, we're seeing that they are absolutely. Oh, and here's the bonus thing on the when you go to look up the subject of Dr. Seuss himself. Go back to that page you just had. The one you just
The basic subject of work of Dr. Seuss is potentially very large and has details we can add as we later realize and review more about the author and his father, or his rather wild workmanship.
Right. Good. So on the next page you went to for just a moment there, which great, that one. I just made a simple thing here that I threw together and cut and paste from a Wikipedia that Geisel, that's his name, Dr. Seuss. What does it say? His place he worked or whatever, had a magazine he was involved with was called the Dartmouth Jack-O-Lantern. So you got Jack-O-Lanterns, you got Zodiac Jack and Jack-O-Lanterns on the Ramsey murder note as well. And then you got Grimm. You've got there's the word Grimm, not spelled like the Grimm sisters that were murdered in 1957 by.
That's Grimes. I did see that, and I meant to have
pronounced different, but
no. Well, it's the whole spelling is different. It's Grimes.
Right. Oh, I know that. I'm just saying you got that, but that's a minor. But the fact that he's got a Dartmouth Jack-O-Lantern humor magazine linked to this as well is a little too much of a coincidence when it comes to the Siamese Jack-O-Lanterns that are on the Ramsey note, and then all of the Jack clues going from Zodiac went back and forward,
including the Jack-O-Lanterns on the Halloween card. So yes,
right, exactly. Exactly.
There was also a book, Pumpkinhead Jack.
Yes, see, yes. No wonder I hated Dr. Seuss when I was a kid. Something was wrong with that. Even as a kid, I sensed it. I didn't even like watching the Christmas program. So,
I agree with you.
Years later.
I thought he's
all right. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving, you guys. I'm trying to keep everyone on track so we can get through these 20 slides today. The next slide you had brought up, I think, pretty much indicates the same stuff. Derwin grants Bartholomew a reprieve.
Yeah, that's part of the story of the 500 Hats story. He's giving a summary of the story, what it's all about. I just cut and paste that. I had to take the whole page when I did a cut and paste, or the screenshot on that. I suppose I could have blanked that out just so I wouldn't confuse you. But I thought since that wasn't part of the page, I just put a green line under it for something to consider. But the main thing is that the Jack-O-Lantern, and then this is talking about Seuss himself there. That line I put underlined in orange is that he is rare and loopy.
I like the statement they put up here. The book received positive reviews from critics. The New York Times reviewer called the book a lovely bit of tomfoolery, which keeps up the suspense and surprise until the end. That is absolutely 100% what we've been dealing with.
Oh yeah.
Now you did speak about the Grimes already, rare and loopy. We did have a couple more communications that I haven't really identified. I'm not sure what goes with the Sky Marshals, Portland, Oregon. You did notate on that, Terry, that the note all of the details on this envelope from DB Cooper, FBI FOIA files. The two circled are smoking gun details that show a direct linkage to the 1996 Ramsey murder. The letter I in airport has the subtle hint of a Christian cross. The letter O has the symbol of the snake and lots of special little details on this document. So you're looking again just at the way the forms of the letters are made, correct?
Right. Exactly. That's the thing with the Ramsey murder note. It's got a lot of details to the point where it's like Bob Shields said, how long do you think it took him to make this thing? I said, well,
right.
Look at the details. Everything was deliberate with that guy. Everything was deliberate with what he did.
All right, so Harriette, that brings us to the solve. You had a solve for the Sky Marshals?
Yes, I did. Now I'm looking for it, but can you read it? Because I know I had it for the Sky.
It says,
go ahead and read it.
Attention Spiro Agnew. Arthur Lee Allen phoned Sis at Riverside City College to supply one Donna Lass doctor assistant suit, a Good Samaritan Hospital time card number 717171684. 84. I'm not sure what that last one is.
It's the numbers that are Anyway, keep going.
East State Line, Nevada, Y, Highway 50 and Route 207. 0, location or ground 0, to shoot former President, brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy in the temple. Paul Stein hit a good to go 9mm gun, 98 rounds at the operating room department, 1:26:09 a.m.
Yeah, that was just by anagramming everything that I could find there and identifying everything on that communication. And I found it, and it was actually pretty easy. I said, my God, he put the time, everything in there. So,
well, and it's interesting that like I said, my research for Spiro Agnew during this time frame is that he is forced into resigning. He takes out a $200,000 loan from Frank Sinatra, which is exactly how much was requested from this hijacking or skyjacking. So to find that you're coming up with his name during a pertinent time in which he's absolutely in the news, being taken down, it is nothing short of amazing, and I think not a coincidence as well.
Yeah.
No, that's why when I had to double check, and this is where Terry B will come in. I was seeing a bunch of acronyms in that, GTG was being left. I said, oh, it means in military, good to go.
And so there is talk about Arthur Lee Allen being a pilot and having flown down to Riverside, which is why they've tried to pin the Sherry Jo Bates murder on him. Do you think that Arthur Lee Allen had anything to do with that? Or is that just a happenstance that murder is occurring at the time where he's making contact? Because this is 2 years earlier. I mean, if he's in Riverside City in 66 in preparation, I mean, obviously we know these events and operations take time to plan. They're not something somebody decided to do overnight. So it could collectively mean that, yes, he was there to do this, and then they tried to pin the Sherry Jo Bates murder on him as well.
Yeah, I think he was, like it's saying, indirectly involved. That's supposed to be his in-law or his sister-in-law that was working Arthur Lee Allen's sister-in-law, I think, was working, having to do with Riverside City College, and so there was reasons why they were going after these people. And in this code, after it was done, it to me was saying that he's okay. I finally found it. Anyways, that he's reminding Spiro Agnew what these operations are about, and that that this is what they're doing, certain things that are involving DB Cooper operation.
I know that I closely relate. I know that I closely relate mob activity to politicians. I mean, I think that is kind of a general consensus. We know about the Rockefellers and their prominent existence in our society, even though they started from mob money. So do you think that Spiro Agnew either had a direct connection or was part of a family that was involved with the mob?
Well, I think his family was involved with the mob, but you got the good mobsters and the bad mobsters. So it doesn't mean that he was a bad guy. He just had it. He knew he had information, and so he's indirectly involved. And of course, he, like you said, he quits. He's forced. He's forced to resign.
Yeah, he's forced.
He was the governor of Maryland prior to being vice president, and during that time, he was taking bribes. And so that's when it came about. He became vice president. And there are some people that think he was still taking bribes even when he was vice president. So
absolutely, you don't stop it. Yeah, a leopard doesn't change its spots. You got free money coming in. You're not going to quit all of a sudden. Oh, peace. Let me stop taking money and bribes. Okay. If you ever took one, you always took one.
They want something to hold over his head.
Go ahead, Harriette.
I'm saying, which would be better reason to quit for? To be blamed for taking bribes, or be blamed for murdering Donna Lass and having something to do with? Oh my God! Which is the lesser of the two evils? That So he, I think, they said, let's just quit over the bribes, but not over this other stuff where Nixon is condoning or execute orders. Murdering. And some people are saying that they're murders. Even Jack later on is saying that he felt that they murdered Donna Lass. I mean, so it's like which of the lesser two evils?
So Spiro Agnew was the vice president to Nixon?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Ford. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for like
I thought he had the coolest name as a kid. Yeah. I was a strange kid.
5 years. Yeah.
So that brings us to the next envelope. I'm not sure what letter this pertains to. Again, these are just bits and pieces that I collected a long time ago. A lot of this stuff has been taken down from the internet. I can occasionally find it here or there. But this one was to the Portland newspaper. Again, he's reaching out to the editor, which happens to be Bill Hilliard. And Harriette has given us lots of dirt and information on Bill Hilliard. This went to the Portland newspaper, head newspaper office, Portland Oregonian. 1320 Southwest Broadway, Portland, Oregon. And then, of course, this last and final letter that I actually have from him was kind of interesting because, again, I'm going to need to go back and put it in its rightful time frame. But D.B. Cooper continued, as far as I can tell, to reach out to these individuals all the way into March of 1972. So on March 28th of 1972, a letter was sent in that says the Portland Oregonian newspaper, Portland, Oregon. And maybe this is what goes actually to this envelope. So maybe I do have it right. On December 14th, this says March 28th. So these would not be connected. December 14th of 1971 is the envelope. And then the letter is actually typed up stating March 28th of 1972. It says, gentlemen. Now, let's keep in mind one of the other letters that was written giving a description of who they might be looking for was also beginning gentlemen. So we're seeing a consistency here. It says, this letter is to let you know I am not dead. And this is a Zodiac 101 statement. I'm not dead. I'm not in the hospital and I'm not in jail, but really alive and just back from the Bahamas. Your silly troopers up there can stop looking for me. That is just how dumb this government is. I like your articles about me, but you can stop them now. D.B. Cooper is not real. I had to do something with the experience Uncle taught me. So here I am, a very rich man. Uncle gave too much of it to world idiots and no work for me. So this goes back to you solving in the Zodiac stuff, literally him not getting paid for the jobs or getting the jobs or swearing him solved where he said that that he needed much work for Christmas. So he was literally asking for more work, but not getting it and not getting paid for the work he had done. He says, I had to do something with the experience Uncle taught me. So here I am, a very rich man. Uncle gave too much of it to world idiots and no work for me. I had to do it to relieve myself of frustration. I want out of the system and saw a way through good old Unc. Now you know, I am going around the world and they will never find me because it's Uncle's turn to weep and pay one of its own some cash for a change. And please tell the lackey cops D.B. Cooper is not my real name. Sincerely, a rich man. When I think we had a rich man solve, and I must have had it in the wrong place. I'm trying to see that's planned for retirement.
Oh, I have it.
Do you have it right there where you can read it?
Yeah, because I see. Tried to start to cover it.
You did. I had it in the wrong place. Bill Hilliard.
Yes. I found it to be stenographic code, and I'll explain very quickly. I see an A instead of an E in very. Uncle is a misspelled, or I mean not misspelled, but it's capitalized in a weird place. So, and then the scratched out two, and then a rich man, which was weird, the signature to sign off with. And anyways, I'll read it. It says, Bill Hilliard. This was just an anagram of the stenographic code. Bill Hilliard, cooperate, topple E. And that's E for emeritus. Anyways, topple E. You kill Nomen, Black Dahlia, camera lens, Monterey Hotel Pictures. And then
you did say you had in there cooperate to topple E. Hoffa.
Yeah, that's the emeritus. He was known as the emeritus, Hoffa. So
gotcha.
That was his other name. So anyways, it just says, Bill Hilliard, cooperate to topple emeritus, Hoffa. You kill woman named Black Dahlia, cameraman Ray, Dr. George Hodel, L.A. Lots Pictures, Giancana woman, Donna Lass, killed East State Line, Nevada. He's reminding him what the past was, and they're actually blackmailing him to cooperate, to actually do something really good to help bring down Hoffa.
Extortion.
So again, we have a typewritten letter that's going to the Portland Oregonian, who Bill Hilliard is in fact the editor of, and then the message works out to actually be pointed directly to Bill Hilliard. Again, I don't think this is a coincidence.
No, and I think he knew the code system, but anyway,
they had to have. This has to be something within those that are used to getting teletype information, ham radio information. Like, this is definitely cipher and code 101, which is definitely Jack and Zodiac. Go ahead, Terry.
I was just going to say that Harriet's probably aware that there are some stenographic type figurines on the Ramsey murder note as well.
Oh, well,
definitely.
we're not there.
Yep.
Let's not go there right now. I'm trying to
Anyway,
stay in this 20 slides.
Footnote.
All right, so we brought up another one which you had talked about, the tie several times. This is the clip-on tie from D.B. Cooper's case, correct?
Right.
And so it had this particular tie clip on it, which kind of reminded you of a spyglass.
Right. Yeah, looks like one, doesn't it?
Right. And like you said, was he hinting to magnify the tie, which is exactly what they did, and that's where they found the specialized particles, correct?
Over 200 of them, yes. Including ruthenium tantalate.
And that, you said, was used in night vision.
Right. And this guy, that's a homemade set of night vision goggles you can make yourself.
Wow. Right. How would you make that?
Well, you have to go and look up this guy's article. I got that. That's a YouTube thing. And you can find anything you want on the University of YouTube. I mean, maybe not all of it's accurate or good, but essentially you block out all the forms of light, and the ruthenium tantalate, I believe that's correct pronunciation of the particles, they're triggered by infrared. So you can see the infrared. So when you see those infrared images that the cops use sometimes to find a suspect or whatever, and they kind of look like
the heat signature.
The heat signature. That's what they're picking up. They're picking up the infrared part of the spectrum, the visual, not visual part of the spectrum, but it converts it into a visual spectrum of the heat.
And interestingly enough, they may not even have projected the glasses that D.B. Cooper was wearing correctly to begin with, just like they didn't correctly identify the composite. So you're thinking that there's a possibility that he was absolutely wearing these types of glasses in preparation or in order to jump from the plane and be able to spot or see where he needed to land.
Yeah, otherwise, how he would be approximating where to land. There's also a hint with that magic amulet thing on one of the other documents that we talked about earlier. Which is it, or is it both? Does he have both type of devices? Does he have?
Well, let me set the foundation for that. The magic amulet was actually two of the letters from the Zodiac that we found were in connection, and the setup or the process of letting us know that he was about to do this skyjacking. At least in my mind, the 305.
Right. Absolutely, you're
Go
right.
ahead, Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. I had a question about prior slide, but we're past it.
Oh, no, go ahead. What is it?
Okay, on the D.B. Cooper letter to the Oregonian, I have to take this. There was a Degnan reference.
Yes. Yes, I did fail to mention that. So in Degnan's letters, in Susan Degnan, which is the lipstick killer, he said in one of his letters, too bad he didn't get O-L-E, Degnan, instead of his old Degnan, which he was trying to hint at the fact that he was going after the OPA representative, which was Degnan's father.
Right.
And he used the word O-L-E. Now, in this letter, Nolan is correct that I did say good old unk. So we have now, again, a very specific, very unusual use of the word O-L-E as ol in both of these particular communications. All right. So that brings us to the next one that you had on here. And this is where we did do a little bit of the talking about this, the Siamese jack-o'-lanterns, correct?
Correct. I think there's another document I made where I actually separated them. I cut them and pasted them apart from each other. But you can tell once you know that they're jack-o'-lanterns, they're absolutely a pair of jack-o'-lanterns. It's easy.
Yeah.
To take them apart, you go, look at that. He drew a couple of that. Everybody, you think that's a crossed out letter, but look at it. It's a pair of jack-o'-lanterns. So yeah, this is, and then you got on the next page, I believe it is, I'm not track, but there's a guy lifting up a little race car and putting it on a jack stand, so
right.
Yeah, he's saying this is my stuff, and he was marking it up to say it's his documents. No doubt about it whatsoever.
You also had some more information in regards to the actual jump, information from the pilot, which is closer to the truth. You said in his interview with the FBI, co-pilot Bill Radicek said the sudden upward pitch occurred while the flight was near the suburbs of north of Portland.
Exactly. Yeah, he was trying to set the story straight too, right? That the co-pilot's trying to say, no, this is where he jumped, because we could tell when he jumped off the plane too. And that's where that FOIA file document, we'll find that, it'll turn up, where the FBI found out that the Portland radar, and this essentially triangulated to the same place, which is west of Le Center, Washington, and nowhere near the northern part, wooded part. And it's an area with conjoined plowed fields where you can get right on I-5 and go right back to California or Portland or wherever you want to go.
Right.
Or you can go over north and you can go wherever you want.
All right. So you also had 2 each sections of nonsense in Wikipedia. Said due to the number of variables and parameters precisely defining the area to search was difficult. The jet's airspeed estimates varied. The environmental conditions along the flight path varied with the aircraft's location and altitude. And only Cooper knew how long he remained in the free tail before pulling his ripcord. The Air Force F-106 pilots neither saw anyone jumping from the airliner, nor did their radar detect a depth-keyed parachute? Oh, deployed parachute. Moreover, a black-clad individual jumping into the moonless night would be difficult to see, especially given the limited visibility, cloud cover, and lack of ground lighting. The T-33 pilots did not make visual contact with the 727. So if they never made visual contact with the 727, how were they supposed to see somebody jumping from it?
Good point. Excellent point.
Thank you. Okay.
Exactly.
On December 6, 1971, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, and we know that Zodiac has it out for Hoover.
Oh, yeah. Mary Hoover. Mary Hoover.
Mary Hoover.
The stockings on 12th and Hoover and during the Black Dahlia murder.
Oh, yes.
For Mary Hoover. Mary, yeah, because he was a cross-dresser.
So
Not
it says
cross,
FBI
but happy to dress that way.
Right.
Yeah.
FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover approved the use of an Air Force SR-71 Blackbird to retrace and photograph Flight 305's path. An attempt to locate the items Cooper carried during his jump. The SR-71 made 5 flights to retrace Flight 305's route due to poor visibility, and photography attempts were unsuccessful. Now, this brings up to me the notion that he asked for 4 shoots, right?
Yes.
How many did he leave out of the plane with, to our knowledge?
Just 2.
And so they never found this second chute.
Well, he robbed one of the chutes of the strings, cut some of the lines to tie his bundle up to himself.
But I'm saying, how many did they? So they're suspecting that he jumped with 2.
I believe so. It's been a long time since I read up on this, and that the guy to go to would be Bruce A. Smith, because he knows those things in detail. But yeah, he got some, and he got, I believe it was 4 of them, and he took some of the.
But he left 2 behind. But he left 2 behind. Right?
I believe so, or else he tossed them out. I don't remember how that part of the story went.
So did they ever find any chutes at all?
I think they did find a chute, but it was unclear as to whether it belonged to Cooper or to Cooper. That's been I read up on this stuff 9 years ago. You'd have to test me. If you don't, it's a use it or lose it world. I mean,
it is a use it or lose it world. All right, some more misleading nonsense per Terry B. In 1986, FBI agent Ralph Himmelsbach wrote, "I have to confess, if I were going to look for Cooper, I would head for the Washougal. The Washougal Valley and its surroundings have been searched repeatedly in subsequent years. To date, no discoveries traceable to the hijacking have been reported. Some investigators have speculated that the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens could have obliterated any remaining physical clues." So where's Washougal?
That's more to going kind of north and south, and you'd have to get a map out and look, and it's
anywhere near the flight plan or path?
Well, they're trying to get it seems to me they were trying to get an explanation as to why this other money was found in a Tana bar, and some of it was chewed up as though it had been under the water and dredged up by a dredging equipment, because they have to dredge that part of the river all the time because there's ships and such that go through the area, and that some of the pieces got chewed up. So he's speculating that, he jumped over here by Washougal because the stuff came up upstream. In other words, there's no explanation as to why it ended up on Tana bar. There's speculation, but there's nobody.
Well, it sounds to me that was a purposeful plant, especially if you had
probably
the Bruce Smith's number one suspect at a party saying how those people over there are going to find money on the banks of Tina Bar, and lo and behold, poof, that's what happens.
Good point. Yep.
So investigation suspended. The FBI has had no valid excuse to drop this case. On July 8th, 2016, the FBI announced active investigation of the Cooper case was suspended, citing the need to focus investigative resources and manpower on issues of higher and more urgent priority. Local field offices would continue to
the Zodiac cases.
Exactly. Just like local field offices would continue to accept any legitimate physical evidence related specifically to the parachutes so they didn't find the parachutes. That right there says they're looking for any evidence in regards to the parachutes. Or to the ransom money, but may emerge in the future. The 66-volume case file compiled over the 45-year course of the investigation would be preserved for historical purposes at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., and on the FBI website. All of the evidence is open to the public.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. Wikipedia, you know better than this. Shame on you. The crime remains the only unsolved case of air piracy in commercial aviation history, as is the Zodiac. I mean, come on. And several of these others, like Black Dog, doesn't that tell you they all revolve around the same entity? I mean, they're all unsolved, and literally for a reason.
Yeah. Unbelievable, but true.
Yeah. Well, they don't, the FBI kind of acts like they don't have to report to all of us. They only have to answer to Congress and other people on another strata,
so I can tell you if he made it out with these parachutes, those parachutes are burnt. Based on the lipstick killer's messages that were occurring at that time, it is burn this for her safety. Everything is burn your evidence, burn, 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 burn. Bill Hiron's letter while he was in jail awaiting, being convicted for the crimes he didn't commit, he was sent a letter and he was told to burn his evidence. So those parachutes are gone.
Well, it would have been early issues. So
they're buried
somewhere. They're early issue stuff. So there's a lot of that sort of. There were thousands of parachutes used in World War II. I think the difference is whether they were silk or nylon. But
I'm guessing that they would have had these bad boys tagged so that they would know when they came about. And if there is any truth to it being buried or stored somewhere, as Harriette had said, we did have a typewritten letter from the Zodiac who claimed that he had information bombs in closets all over California. So there's a good chance that those are sitting somewhere. And in some cases, I think as many times as a storage shed has been used by these individuals and as many times as they've lost their storage sheds, that there's a good chance that there's an unsuspecting person out there who has purchased one of these sheds and just don't have an idea of what they're sitting on, which is something that happened to Harriette.
Yeah. That guy got so scared and he said, I'll sell it to you for next to nothing. Get the shit away from me. Anyways, I was
all right. So I'm going to try to scream through this. We've got about 10 minutes left. Let's go to,
I got one thing to add to what you just said. I think there's coordinates available that may indicate where to look for some of these things that are.
Well, we can always do that. Harriette and I are always down for a good road trip.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a partial report about the clip-on type particles. It ignores the infrared detection particles. So the material with the most significance explained K was the unallowed titanium. In the 1970s, the use of pure titanium was rare and would only be used in aircraft fabrication facilities or at chemical companies combining titanium and aluminum to store extremely corrosive substances. And
unalloyed is a mixture of two different types of materials to form one type of metal or whatever.
Gotcha.
And that's pure unalloyed. It means there's no other inclusions or mixtures in that titanium. It's pure. And
so Tektronix, which I think, wasn't that something we found in the Playboy cutouts, Tektronix? Or is... Well, here's the thing. The Tektronix Incorporated makes oscilloscopes. I own one, and if you have the manual, I could, I put it on your web, on your message board.
On your message board, I put a picture of the little midget racer that's in the horizontal sweep section of a Tektronix oscilloscope thing. And that's where I got the idea that instead of calling it a boat-tailed speedster on the second page of the Ramsey murder note, I'm now calling it a midget racer. And
yeah, okay. I need to stay away from
that's racier.
Right. So anyway, but I still have several slides.
The particles would have come from Teledyne or Tektronix. The particles, the cathode rate.
Well, Boeing Supersonic Transport Development Project and the Portland. I mean, if it's having to do with air flight, and we know that D.B. Cooper has been, been around planes, been training on planes to make this jump, and doing all this stuff, then he's had a near connection to that type of stuff. Right. I thought the hair samples was really interesting. FBI agents found 2 hair samples in Cooper's seat, a single strand of limb hair on the seat and a single strand of brown Caucasian. Now, everybody, they tried to make it out like he was Hispanic or of Italian, some darker descent, but they found brown Caucasian head hair on the headrest. The limb hair was destroyed after the FBI crime laboratory determined the sample lacked enough unique microscopic characteristics to be useful. What the hell? Why would you destroy anything when the advances in technology of DNA are still ongoing? However, the FBI crime laboratory determined the head hair was suitable for future comparison and preserved the hair on a microscopic slide. During their attempts to build Cooper's DNA profile in 2002, the FBI discovered the hair sample had been lost. Go figure.
Of course.
The skyjacker would have needed precise ground targets. A pattern of heat lanterns and infrared goggles would have done the trick. So cigarette butts. In the armrest ashtray of seat 18E, FBI agents found 8 Raleigh filter-tipped cigarette butts. These were sent to the FBI crime laboratory to search for fingerprints, but investigators were unable to find fingerprints and returned the butts to the Las Vegas field office. In 1998, the FBI sought to extract DNA from the cigarettes, but discovered the butts had been destroyed while in custody of the Las Vegas field office. Let's just go, woo, 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 woo. Yeah.
And to his credit, Trump fired Comey, and he should have fired more people than just Comey, but to his credit, he fired Comey.
All right, so on the sketches, according to witnesses, the composite A sketch, jokingly known as Bing Crosby, was not an accurate likeness of Cooper. The composite A sketch said witnesses showed a young man with a narrow face and did not resemble Cooper or capture his disinterested, let's get this over with look. Flight attendant Florence Schaff repeatedly told the FBI the composite A sketch was a very poor likeness of Cooper. That confirms what Cooper told us himself.
Right.
Then this title should state a large list of highly specialized information was used in the Cooper caper. Knowledge and planning is what you're saying is lacking in a lot of information, correct, Terry?
Yes, exactly.
Now, the next slide you stated the FBI speculated Cooper knew the Central Intelligence Agency was using 727s to drop agents and supplies into enemy territory during the Vietnam War. So this would be something that Jack was highly astute to.
Right.
Now that brought us, we talked a little bit about this, so we don't have to cover it much, but death of Earl J. Cossey. Now, on April 23rd, 2013, Earl J. Cossey, who packed the 4 parachutes that were given to Cooper, was found dead in his home in Woodinville, Washington, a suburb of Seattle. His death was ruled a homicide due to blunt force trauma on the head. Now, the interesting part about this is that this, and I would like to go back and see, well, this is much later. I mean, in 2013, why would they have waited so long to kill him if he was going to?
Maybe he started talking. They asked him not to. I don't know.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was off the beaten path. He wasn't right where a lot of people. I think he was back in a cul-de-sac. You'd have to ask Bruce, but it seems to me he was not right on the path or a place that would normally. There just was no reason for it. It's not a place murder is what the point is.
All right. Well, this brings us to our summary. I'm excited to be here. I'm going to rattle these things off. If there's anything you guys think of in the middle of the summary that I haven't expressed, please shout it out. But one of the biggest factors was this upside down woman in water who appears like she is just not even alive. That is a waterway reference. That is a female that is floating upside down. And that is definitely some Zodiac 101 stuff that was going on, I believe, previous to this actual skyjacking. My D.B. Cooper summarization, communication variables for D.B. Cooper and all other crimes. Several communications mailed from California, Modesto, and Sacramento, which are hotspots for Zodiac just before the skyjacking and Jack. Use of historical trolley car stamp from San Francisco, Zodiac Killer, Navy, and a man with a briefcase. Sends communications in multiples. That's the Zodiac. Refers to previous communications in new communications. Again, Zodiac. JT inclusions or nuances. We find them in all communications. He's a braggart. That's the Zodiac Killer, and even Jack to some degree. He's taunting the police, FBI, and newspapers, telling them when they've got it wrong. That's Zodiac 101. The use of sirs and fool, and wearing a disguise. No fingerprints left behind. These are all Zodiac. Offers to turn himself in. That's Lipstick Killer, Georgette Bauerdorf, Black Dahlia, Zodiac Killer, and the Oakland County Child Killer. Typed cutouts, block writing, and handwritten communications equals Black Dahlia, Sherry Jo Bates, Zodiac Killer, and D.B. Cooper. Has a lot to say or share. That's all the crimes we're involved in. Revolution is a word that he uses, which is attributed to things like retribution and Georgette Bauerdorf and justified with Elizabeth Short. Man and Beast, Zodiac Killer. Wig ad, a disguise, Zodiac Killer. Hourglass, it's a time reference, folks. We've been seeing this. Black Dahlia, Swindle, Sherry Jo Bates, Zodiac Killer, and more. Joan Baez, military training, Jack. The tie ad for the clip-on tie, which held lots of important evidence. An encyclopedia ad, not ashamed of having brains. The tire ad with the masked man in a western state. Jack in Texas, Texarkana phantom murder. Girl upside down in the water. Many of the crimes associated to water. Systems that beat the system, stereo and speakers, the PA system, Jack's, and the Zodiac Killer hood where it was found in a PA system. The Magnavox ad, radio, TV recording. Every letter has a meaning related to ads. DeWars, D.B. Cooper drank bourbon on the plane. Medical lighter ad. Page to the left is an article on career killers. Ben Masselink, everything you wanted to know about television. Jack had a television course shortly before this. Lazy pipe tobacco equaling cigarettes, and the Playboy Advisor. Now, bringing up the nuances for Jack Tarrance himself, he shows a significant weight loss in comparison to 1969 and the Lake Berryessa murders in his 1970 pictures. Jack shows that his hair was dyed dark at some point. Jack was taking flying lessons with a friend previous to these events. Jack suffered an injury coincidentally around this time. Jack was a member of ARSMATs for the Air Force, parachuting basically at 26 years of age. Jack was an orienteer and could find his way around anywhere with something as simple as a radio or a compass. Jack could call out lakes and locations from 35,000 feet in the sky while looking out an airplane window, just as Cooper did. Jack was a smoker. Jack had proximity to specialized metals found on the clip-on tie, and Jack's favorite drink was bourbon. So is there anything you guys quickly want to add to that? I have probably less than a minute right now.
I like bourbon.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Is there anything else that you thought of that I missed, Harriette?
Just the use of acronyms, especially military acronyms.
I'm going to add that
everywhere I'm going to add that to the
list.
Amazing.
All right, and Terry B.
All the other ones from 1940s. My God, 2000s.
Right. How about you, Terry? Anything you?
Well, you said you point for 35,000 feet. Yeah, the aerial view of a lot of crime scenes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's going to end it for us now, you guys. We are definitely out of time. I'm glad that we made it through all of these slides. This means that we can move on with Jack's move into South Lake Tahoe, his meeting of Dennis Kaufman's family, and we're going to take it off from there. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much, Terry, Nolan, Harriette, for being here. This was a hilarious one. And we will pick up
Mother's Day. Yeah. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes, happy Mother's Day to everybody. You take care.
Thanks, Steve.
Oh,